Hey guys, welcome to the ACH Automotive channel. Brand new camera, brand new gimbal, brand new slider, really up to the game. Hopefully this makes the videos much better. Learning how to use both or all the tools that I just bought, so bear with me here. Today we're working on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee, and the rear CV boot has ripped. So I have a brand new boot, I have a brand new CV from East Coast Parts that we're gonna install. So I've already got the truck jacked up. We're gonna work on taking it apart. Let's get some tools. All right, the first thing we've got to do is set the brake, or change the setting for the brakes. So we've got to go into, no, let's turn the screen off. Controls. Oh, I'm sorry, it's apps. So it's Uconnect apps. And then scroll over, settings, hit the brakes button, service mode. Would you like to retract park brake to allow for brake system service? Yes. You're going to hear it do its thing. And it should come up and tell you it's ready for service. Yep, this is park brake retracted. To reset, press brake pedal and activate the park brake switch. Okay, first thing we've got to do is get our caliper, get our rotor off, get all this stuff out of the way because we need to get into the CV. So let's break our axle nut loose here. And I've got this nice set. I think I got it off of Amazon. It's a power built. It's got all the axle bolts you could, sockets you could ever want. And this guy happens to be, and I tipped it upside down here off camera. I think it's a 32, yep. So we're gonna pull this off. There we go. Now this is a 32 millimeter nut, and it is not reusable. When you buy these parts from East Coast Parts or any of the Chrysler dealers, you have to specify that you want the nut. I'll put the part number in, I'll pin the part number in the description. So there's that, that's done. Let's work on getting this caliper out of the way here. We've got to get our lines and stuff disconnected. There's two 10 millimeter bolts up here that we're going to pull out that hold these lines in place. Well, let's get them undone here. So one is for the ABS sensor. This smaller one is for the ABS sensor. Put our bolts over there. And the other one, we've got to pull our ABS wheel speed sensor out of the way here first. Be careful you don't damage it. We do not want to break it. So just hang that off there. Then the other 10 millimeter bolt is for the brake line bracket. So the longer bolt is for the brake line bracket. Pull that out. And then that is free. Let's take one of our trim sticks here, and up in the corner here, we'll pop this guy out. That's in the way, so we'll just let that dangle there. Then we have another 10 millimeter bolt, and I don't think this will fit in there. I think I'm going to have to use my regular ratchet here on this back one. So there's a bracket that holds the brake line to the caliper. We've got to pull that out. Okay, on the back side of this, you'll want to take your ratcheting wrench there. I have that on the right way. And we'll crack that loose. We'll take our thin 17 millimeter wrench here and we'll stick it there. Now I've had these apart in the past, so pretty straightforward. We'll have to put our thin 17 millimeter wrench on. There we go. Alright, bolt is out. Now we can carefully slide our caliper out of the way here. Finding a spot to hook this on this car is fun. I'll typically hook it on the spring just to keep it out of the way. There we go. Yep, T55 adapter on it. There we go. Now, I did put a little Loctite on these. These bolts technically are not reusable. They're torque to yield. I do have new ones we'll put in this time around. Top one is cracked loose. Put the regular ratchet on that in a second. This may be where your caliper is in the way, so we may need to find another spot for that for a minute. I need to have like a place to hook this. Just set that right there temporarily. I'll move it back once we get this slide bracket off. There we go. Okay, that's cracked loose. There's one. That's why I don't really like these ratchets. They don't have, I don't find them to have a lot of oomph to them when you need it. All right, there's our slide bracket out. Now we can work on taking our rotor off. The Allen that holds the rotor on is an H5, so we'll put that in there like that. There we go. Bolt is out. The camera focuses on that. Alright, rotor is off. Let's move our caliper back here so it doesn't get destroyed. It's very hard to find parts for this Jeep sometimes. I don't know why. Our 10mm back on. We're going to take our dust shield off here. There's one bolt. It's 2 bolt. And I'm only taking this off because it's in a way to get wrenches and ratchets in there. 3 bolt. There's 4 bolt. Okay. So now we've got to take this lower bolt, nut and bolt out, and I believe, looking at my notes off camera there, it is an 18mm socket and wrench, so we'll have to go get that. This guy over here is a, I think, 13/16 and 21mm wrench or socket, and up here is a 18mm. So we'll pull this top one first. Control arm might go boing a little bit. 21mm socket for the, actually, you know what, we'll pull the 21mm socket for the lower shock bolt. So there's a lower shock bolt on the back side here. That's 21mm bolt. We're gonna break loose. And this is where, if I had a 1/2-inch ratchet, electric ratchet, this would be that much more helpful, because there isn't a lot of room back here. So once you broke it loose, it would be nice to have a tool like that. But I don't yet. I'm working on it. First, we'll start with the cameras and up my video quality, I hope. That's my goal, is to bring you guys better videos Got a lot of parts coming in for the Mustang today, so I'm really excited for that. We'll get that hopefully started here soon. This is a long bolt too. There we go. So this is the lower shock mount bolt. It's a 21mm bolt. Put that aside. Now you can see our shock absorbers out of the way. We also have three, I think these are 16mm bolts over here on this side. These are fun to get to as well. Okay. Found that. 18 on the other side here. Oops. Alright. Yeah, that's 18. It just doesn't. I guess just. There we go. Okay. Upper bolt is out or loose. Now you gotta get these lines are in the way here. There we go. Alright, there's our upper bolt out. I always put the nut back on the bolt that I'm working on so I know where it's got to go. Alright. There's also a clip back here we've got to knock out with a screwdriver. Just one of these clips on the back. Knocked it out. Got the brake line out of the way. Now we need a 16mm socket here. And we're going to have to break these guys loose. There's 3 of them. I had this apart a couple of weekends ago, and I actually had the CV out, and I'll show you here in a minute why I put it back together with the broken CV. I was not pleased. It was a lot of work to get this out, and to have to put it back together broken. It was not a happy camper. And it took me a while to get the parts ordered. I buy my parts, most of my Mopar parts through East Coast Moparts down in Maryland. I stumbled across them online one day, and they've been pretty good to me. They've been pretty cheap. They've been, reasonable on shipping and stuff. So I just keep going back. Now, unfortunately, they did have to order a couple of extra parts for me because that's just the way Chrysler sells them. So I'll show you that. All right, there's one of these bolts. The top one up here is the hardest to get to, I believe, if I remember right. And then it's just 2 bolts on the bottom. Once these 3 come out, the knuckle should come off, and we'll be able to pull the axle out. All right, there's 2. Second one. And this top one, I think I might need an extension on, if I recall. Yeah, I think I need a short little extension. Got our Aries stubby kit, stubby one here. I bought that off of Amazon. I think I'll put the link to that in the description. That's been a great little kit too. There we go. All right. That is out for the trailing arm, or I believe it's the trailing arm. There we go. Last one out. So now we've got to take these 2 bolts on the bottom out. The knuckle assembly will come off. Support this a little better. Again, there's not really a great spot to support this from, and I do not want to damage this today. That is not in my scope of work. Alright, let's get this guy out. This one is an 18mm socket and wrench. So, there we go. There we go. Turn my jack a bit. Or a bolt there. don't know if the camera will show, but there's a lot of grease in there from the ripped boot. Again, if you have a lift, this job will be 127% easier. We're doing it on the ground in the garage. It sucks. Get some of our tools out of the way. I also don't exactly have room for a cart because I'm on the ground. So, all things I'm hoping to solve soon. There's our nut off. There's our bolt out. There we go. Oop. There is our, just dangle that there. There's our knuckle. Put that to the side. Alright. So if you're like me, at this point, you're going to pull the CV out. I ordered a half shaft, brand new half shaft from Mopar. I'll put the part number in the description. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. This job went fairly smoothly the first time around until I got to pull the CV. I had an oh moment, and I'll beep that out in the video, but I had an oh moment. It was not good. Because normally a half shaft, you either use a slide hammer, like this guy, which I didn't have the other day. I didn't have the right attachment for it the other day. I've since obviously acquired that. This is brand new. OTC part number 34331. I'll put that in the description or the comment section as well. And so I had one that was similar, and I put it in there, and I gave it a couple of tugs, and I heard pop. Great, job's going very smoothly. Till the output shaft came out as well. Now, what they don't tell you in the factory service manual is that it can come out. And my oh moment was when it popped out, I thought I had destroyed the rear power unit. I didn't. It just happens to be that because this car, well, we're up north where it's rusty and corrosion and all that good stuff, snow, salt, ice, you name it, it's up here. This half shaft is seized to the output shaft. So what we have to do is we've got to come in here. So I ordered, the long story short of why I had this apart and put it back together broken is because I had to order the output shaft and all the associated pieces that went with it because they're stuck together. So let's put this up through here. There we go. And there we go. Just popped out. That apart. And there you have it. That is what it looks like when it doesn't come apart. It's stuck together. So I have a brand new shaft, brand new clips. We'll go put that together and I'll show you how to do it. So here is our brand new axle from East Coast Moparts, and we want to be careful not to rip the boot on this one. Part number is P6825706-5AE, and a couple things to note. This axle was like $375. There's a $50 core charge. It does not come with the nut. That's extra. You need to purchase that. It was like $6. You know what? Unfortunately, hopefully the wind noise isn't too much. Unfortunately, I don't have a part number on this, so I will put that in the description or the comment section. And we also need this lock ring. This goes right here on the input shaft. We'll put that on, and then I'm going to steal the one off the broken or the bad or the rusted, corroded, whatever you want to call it, input shaft and put it on there. This shaft, again, does not come with it, and the picture of these clips is deceiving because it shows 3 of them in a pack and I only got 1 of them, so that is something I will have to address. But this is the broken one. You can see the boot is ripped, and the boot's ripped there. She must have run over something, and it's pretty rusty. I put some heat to it. I put my mini ductor venom to it, and I still couldn't get it to come apart. So we're gonna steal this clip off of it. We're gonna put the new input shaft into the Jeep, and then we'll put the CV on and put it all back together. It would have just been easier to get another snap ring, but and I thought I did, but it only came in a pack of 1 and not 2 like I thought. Okay, here we go. So we've got that. Don't want it to go boing. There we go. Alright, so I just used my snap ring pliers to pry it apart a little bit, and then I slipped a screwdriver under there and popped it off. We're just gonna slide it on. Like so. There we go. Now we can put this back in the car. Well, actually, you know what? We'll put the new clip on here. That way, I don't have to fight with it under the truck or under the Jeep. Like so. There we go. Take our output shaft, and we're just going to slide it back in. I did put a little white grease on it just to help it slide along the seal. We don't want to rip the seal. So we'll just slide that in like so. And you might have to go get yourself a little rubber mallet and just tap it in so it locks the clip. There we go. Perfect. So I just put a little pressure on the disc that's on the outer shaft, and I just gently with a rubber mallet. You don't want to whack it because you'll damage stuff. There we go. Perfect. Now we are ready to put our CV back on and put this whole mess back together. Finally putting this job to bed. This has been a while. So again, just wipe up any excess grease underneath here. Might want to take it through the car wash after and just get all the gook off. You do not want to damage your new CV because it's very expensive. So, a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to put a little white grease on that output shaft, the splines, so hopefully this doesn't happen again. That should keep it from corroding to it. And it'll help slide the splines over everything here. And carefully put your CV in there. Alright, got our output shaft in, our CV on. We're going to put our knuckle back in here, and I am going to, let's just clean some of that grease up. I'm going to put a little never seize on the splines here. I'll put a little never seize on the bolts, just a little. This is a trick I was taught. And then, alright. We'll use the old bolt for now, just an old nut just to hold it in there. Okay, there we go. Our ABS sensor out of the way, we don't want to break that. I'm just using the old nut to hold it in there for now, just so I don't lose it. There we go. Alright, that one's all the way through. Put our nut on just to hold it in place there. Okay. This guy, forward one, needs to get aligned and pushed through. There we go. Put our nut on. Alright, top one is next. Just gonna basically put it back together in the order you took it apart. So we have the hub or the knuckle back on, we have the axle back in, and it is ready to go back together. Now, off camera, I actually had to pull that all apart again. And the reason being is I could not get the axle shaft to go over this brand new clip that I bought to go on the output shaft. If you looked at the old clip versus the new clip, this is much more oblonged, and I'm trying to get it to focus, I apologize, than the old one. Now, you say, how do you know what the old one looks like? You couldn't get it apart. Well, I did. This is what it looks like. So you had a C-clip type clip here, and there was also this rubber seal O-ring that I did not realize. So I took it all apart again. I took the seal off of this, cleaned it up, put it back in, took the clip off of this, and put it on the old one, and now, excuse me, the new one. And now we've got it to a point where I am ready to put this guy back together and continue the job. Got our upper bolt in, got our lower bolts in. Now we've got to work on getting the side bolts over here in. I'm going to never seize these before I put them on. These are very tricky to get in. I had a lot of trouble with these the first go round. And then obviously I'm just using the old axle nut to hold it in place for the moment. We'll change that with the brand new one. The lower one's lined up. Let's get the top one lined up, and then we'll go from there. We've got everything back together. The next step is to torque the two lower bolts and the upper bolt. These three bolts for the trailing arm here, I believe it's the trailing arm, we'll torque once the tire is on because I'll lay under the car to do that. Same thing with the lower shock mount bolt. So we'll torque this guy here, has to be torqued to 116 foot-pounds. This one has to be torqued to roughly 90 foot-pounds. And then this guy up here has to be torqued to 116 foot-pounds. So we'll get those torqued down, and then we'll put the dust shield back on, we'll put the rotor back on, the slide bracket, the caliper, and then put all the connectors or the lines back together, or brackets back on to the knuckle. Got our trusty torque wrench here. We'll go after this one first. It's going to be 116 foot-pounds. Because I have a cheap torque wrench, that's something I really need to invest in, is a good torque wrench. I just typically start at a lower number and work my way up, because I've found with some of these cheaper torque wrenches over the years that they're not really calibrated that well. Okay, now this guy, according to my book, is about 90. That is a 21 millimeter bolt or nut. There we go. So, actually, hold on. Let's back this off here. It's done at about 70. 13/16 on the other side. Okay, there we go. That is 18, and that has to be 116. Let's find our our 10mm socket here. Oops. We're going to put our dust shield back on for the brakes. And before I do that, I am going to just put a dab of Never-Seez on each of these little bolts here. Dust shield on like so. And these 3/16s over here, or these 3/16mm bolts over here will torque once the tire is on. Same thing with the 21mm bolt that holds the lower part of the shock on. There we go. Alright, got our dust shield on. There's our ratchet there. Perfect. Okay. Oops. That started the wrong way. Try to get it back in the... I'm going to try to get it back into the same spot it was. And that's going to go down here. Like so. Let me go find, I think I have new slide bracket bolts, so let me go grab those, and then we'll put the slide bracket back on, we'll put the caliper back on, and we'll get all the wires and cabling bolted in. We'll change the axle nut, and we'll torque everything down, and we'll go for a ride. Brand new slide bracket bolts. These are torque to yield bolts, so you do want to replace them. A lot of guys do reuse them. I have reused them in the past, although I try to avoid them. I try to avoid doing so just because that's not, that's not best practice. I don't understand why they made these torque to yield bolts. I've never had any other car in all the cars that I've ever owned that have had caliper slide bracket bolts be torque to yield. This will just get them started. There you go, there's one. Two. Alright, and the caliper guide bracket bolts need to be 89 foot-pounds. So you know what, we are going to just snug them up real quick, and then I'll get the torque wrench out. These are, again, difficult to do because there's not a lot of room under here. There we go. Alright, that one started. Good. Now, let's see if we get the bottom one started. There we go. Okay. Let's use a ratcheting wrench and our thin 17mm wrench. So ratcheting 10mm and a thin 17. Same thing for this one. Put our bracket back over. Same thing. This one I'll put a little Never-Seez on just because we don't want that one to lock up. Not that I want the slide, I guess it doesn't really matter because if the slide bracket bolt were to lock up, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter too much, but. There we go, good. Okay. Next, we are going to work on getting our brackets and ABS sensor back into their spots here. So this will be the brake line bracket. Little never sees there. The last piece here to actually put the bolt on is to go and get our new axle nut. Put that on. Brand new axle nut. I'll put the part number down in the comments description area. It doesn't say it on the package. It's a 32mm nut. We will put a little never sees on the splines. Anything I had on there got taken off when I goofed off with it. It's a 32mm. There we go. We'll have to torque that down. That's going to be, what did I make that? What is that? 148 foot-pounds is what the book calls for. Well, I think we're at the point where I can put the wheel back on. So let me go. I think what I did last time was I took the brake out of part or service mode, and I set the emergency brake and I torqued this down, because then I can put the tire back on. Then we'll go underneath, we'll torque the lower shock mount bolt and these three 16mm bolts here for I believe it's the trailing arm, and we'll put the clip back into place for the brake line back here, and then that's it. We're done. So, there we go. So I have my parking brake set there. Oops, drop that. And we will start this guy off. We're at about 100 there. Stuff out of the way here. There we go. Now she's tightening down. That's about 100, and she's got to be at 148. Go up to about 30. There we go. And we'll go up just to here under 150. There we go. So she is snug. We go ahead and put our wheel back on, and then I'll go underneath and we'll torque up the rest of the stuff that we gotta torque up. We got our wheel back on. We've got everything mostly torqued down. Those three 16mm bolts that I showed you that were, well, now the tire's on, but they're for the trailing arm. Those have to be torqued to roughly 44 foot-pounds plus a 90-degree turn. This is my little cheat sheet that I made up the other day when I took it apart. And then the lower shock mount bolt needs to be torqued to 139 foot-pounds. Unfortunately, it's going to be kind of hard for me to show you this under the car with this new camera. It's kind of big. And I don't have a lift, so just assume that they're torqued for this video, and I'll crawl under there and do it after we're all done here. But that's the finished product. I did sorry, my battery in my gimbal died, so I got spares coming, so I'm using my regular old tripod right now. I did set the emergency brake so I could torque the axle bolt. So just to take that out of service, you press the brake and activate the parking brake, and that's all you do to take it out of service mode. So we're good there. Got to torque those 4 bolts, and then it can go for a ride. If you like this video, you like the new video setup, hopefully the audio sound good. I have a recorder that I'm recording to now. I didn't have my Rode studio mic on the camera today because I had my light on there. I gotta get an adapter to mount the 2 of them. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully my content is gonna get clearer and better. That is the plan. I have a bunch of parts waiting for me down the end of the driveway for the Mustang, so stay tuned for that. If you like this video, please like and subscribe below, and something you want to know, leave me a comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.